let's see here. And kind of just give an overview of flying cross country out of Tiger Mountain in general is, I wouldn't say it's easy, especially the very first move. It's a little committing, just in terms of where you can land safely. I guess really the only key skills you need for flying cross country are like thermaling and the ability to land in a new unfamiliar place safely. If you can do those two things, you can, piece together a cross country flight pretty easily. So as you can see, looking at Tiger, right, we have the north launch here, the south launch here. We're surrounded by a lot of trees and a lot of kind of metropolitan area when there isn't trees. I don't know why it's so blurry.
That's pretty good on my screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
It looks good here.
So flying from Tiger, we're kind of restricted from going to the west. So we can fly to Squawk Mountain, but any further past that, we start running into airspace, which I think I saw on the agenda. Maybe Mitch is covering airspace after this, so I won't go into depth. I'd say one of the least committing routes out of Tiger from a beginner standpoint is heading north. So a really typical first move you're going to do is head to the North Ridge, which is this ridge here. You can see it from launch. From the top of this ridge, you always have the glide, typically, unless the wind is strong south, back to the main landing zone. And so, when we're flying cross country, you always want to keep a safe landing zone within glide and a backup landing zone as well within glide. So the first move, if you want to just leave the nest from flying Tigers, try to go over to North Ridge and get established. Once you're there, heading straight north to the Issaquah Highlands is typically the first move people will make. There's a set of green towers over here just north of Grand Ridge Park that are a great trigger. There's also a baseball field here that's quite a safe landing zone. If you head slightly more northwest, all this area next to the hospital that's under construction is a great place and safe place to land. It's an easy Uber back. And that, I'd say, is the safest and most typical first route out of Tiger Mountain. Obviously, you don't want to be leaving the North Ridge low to cross because there is a hill here and there is nowhere to land here. I think a couple people have had some interesting events down here. Is Yoon on here? You might be able to share a story with us, but you don't want to land anywhere in here. It's not super fun. So
Yeah, there's a nice pond down there.
There's a pond, there's power lines. Essentially, you want to make sure that you have the glide to make it over the highway and are well clear of the highway and make it over to these fields if you do leave the North Ridge. So that's what I'd caution.
So what's the minimum elevation to shoot for before crossing?
Depends on the day and how strong the wind is and what kind of glider you're on. I'd say try to be at 4,000 feet. You can leave lower, but that really, like I said, it really depends on your glider and how strong the north wind is.
And if I may interject real quick, Austin.
Yeah. Go for it.
Also, if we're talking typical day and we're talking about a northwest flow coming through Issaquah Highlands and Issaquah, remember that if you go for that glide and it's a crappy glide real early off or even halfway through, probably turning around is a better bet than continuing, right? Going back to the North Ridge and working your way back to the LZ. If you get halfway through that glide and your glide's really bad, you can turn around, you're going to get a better glide because you're going to be going down there.
And is high school a target when you're turning around there?
I use high school as a bailout if I need it. I don't like to plan for it, but and the high school fields are deceptively tricky because they all have big light towers around them. So they're pretty restricted LZs, but they are possible. And then there's that park between the high school and Tiger LZ that also offers a pretty good possibility, as well as a couple of backyards and stuff. That park right there, yeah.
Yeah, just be aware there are some playground equipment in the south end of this field, but that's definitely doable as a bailout.
Yeah, definitely be good at your spot landing if you're gonna make that one.
Yeah, and that, I mean, Mark, that, I think that was Mark. That brings up a great point in general for flying cross country. Is spot landing is one of the key skills you really need to have, because you don't know where you're going to land a lot of the time. And so having the skills and the judgment to put yourself into a LZ safely is very important.
Exactly.
In the chat, there is a good question about the spot right to the high point, which
Where?
looks landable. Oh, there's coordinates, but maybe Val, or maybe you
It's
can.
like right by that bend, high point, and between that 90 signs, there is a strip of land. Is it a
Here?
valid bailout, or to the up and to the right? Yep, East Fork, Issaquah Creek thingy.
Right here?
No, top right. Oh, sorry, no. Top right corner. You zoomed way too much.
Unless you're Cody, you probably shouldn't try to land there.
Well, here is Issaquah. Yep, this one. Yep,
Where am I?
Yep, right here.
Right here?
Uh-huh.
I personally haven't landed in there. It looks a little
I picked
tight.
somebody up that landed there. There's an old abandoned airstrip.
Okay. Was it a nice option?
I mean, I landed there a few times, just questioning about like owners and is it cool. I haven't had any problems.
Okay.
It's kind of rowdy by the road though.
Yeah, and this is kind of indented, or I don't know if that's the right word, but there's high terrain kind of surrounding it, huh? So I probably wouldn't want to go down there if it was super windy, but no, that's a really good option. I have never seen that before. George, I don't know how in depth you wanted me to go. I guess one thing I'd caution against, which unless it's a really, really good day and you're quite experienced, is going straight east from Tiger. You know, it's been done. We do it occasionally when we're really confident we're not going to land. This neighborhood here has a few options, and then the next really only good option you have is kind of at least one thermal away, and it's next to this power station, but that also isn't great because there's obviously tons of high
Lots of
tension
power lines out that
power
way.
lines around the around that. So in general, I'd say, you know, I think George asked me to gear this talk towards, you know, your first steps of leaving Tiger. I'd say as a rule of thumb, if you're a very new cross country pilot, is never just punt it straight east from like the north from Tiger Mountain. I would go north, and that's the safe route. And you can eventually go east. So like if your goal is to get to Mount Si or North Bend, you know, the safer route is to go across the highway first to the highlands like we talked about, and then start going east. And it's actually, you know, once you get the first two thermals away from Tiger, whether it be north or south, all of a sudden your landing options become a lot more plentiful, and the cross country actually becomes a lot less stressful. And especially, let's say we're on a classic north day, we're going this way. You get one climb on the highlands and boom, you get into the Carnation Valley. Well, there's tons of fields that are safe landings here in the Carnation Valley that you can follow all the way towards Monroe. So it's really just this main move of leaving Tiger, which is a little bit advanced, and I think that can be a barrier to learning cross country out of Tiger Mountain. But as soon as you kind of understand the first couple moves, it really opens the door on what you can, when you can start pushing the boundaries a little bit, and pushing yourself a little bit further safely, of course.
Austin, what about south?
Yeah, so going south, there's a lot of tight landing options close to the mountain, but I'd say the first good one, I believe, is just past the store. I think it's this field here. Or maybe it's this one. There's one that's on the southwest edge of the Issaquah Hobart Road. And it's quite long. You do have to cross, I think it's this one actually. You have to cross the creek to get back to the road, but that's a really safe option. But that's really your first really good one. And that's probably, you know, if you are messing around in this area, you're not going to make it. So it is a little bit of a glide from the south launch. Once you get past Miramont, things open up quite a bit more and you start having a lot better options. I have known people that have landed inside the dump. There's barbed wire surrounding it. I don't think they're very happy. If it's your only safe option, sure. I wouldn't have it in your plan as a bailout landing option.
Yeah, if you look, there's a lot of power lines just to the south of that too, and those are big ones.
Yeah, so this clear cut here is high tension power lines. If you can see my cursor. So this whole strip is not landable, even though it looks nice.
Yep.
But yeah, I'd say this field here is probably your best bet. I've picked up a couple people here. And of course, there's tighter options that I wouldn't really plan on as like primary landing zones within here, but there are places you can sneak it into in an emergency. The tree farm, is this the right tree farm? Yeah, I thought there was a tree farm closer to the road. Is Wheeler still on?
I hope
Help me
he's,
out here.
but if not, I think that first field that you indicated, I think that was behind the tree farm. And
Okay.
I thought that's what we typically referred to when we said the tree farm.
Yeah, there's a Christmas tree farm along this road. Oh, it's right here. Infinity Farm. Maybe. I don't know. That seems a little too far. Anyways, there's a tree farm there, and sometimes the trees are only maybe waist to chest high, and so you can land in there. You might get a little tangled, but you're not gonna get hurt. So, but then again, like once you get 2 thermals away, boom! All of a sudden, you know, you can see here. There's just tons of places to land safely. But yeah, identifying and executing safe landing decisions from the air, very key skill for a cross-country pilot because landing is mandatory.